I'm building Plant Story app, which is a social app for plant lovers. In the past, I'd say a lot of people, they treat plants like commodities. So they would throw them in their garden and let it rain or die. Nowadays, I see the plant parents, the millennial and Gen Z generation, so they have an emotional connection with their plants. My father, he was born a farmer, but later on he went into the newspaper business. But then, I think China was changing very fast at that time. So like, plants was everywhere in China. The connection was there. It's just I didn't realize there's such a connection. It was natural. I was born in South China, very close to Shenzhen, very close to Hong Kong, and then I got my degrees in Beijing. And then I moved to US, to Michigan for my PhD degree. My background is a software engineer, and I started programming for iPhone. I became the first generation, the first batch of the iPhone programmers in the world. And then I decided it was time to quit my PhD and move to Silicon Valley. I worked in Apple for 5 years, making mobile apps for them. In 2015, I joined Instagram. I started to get into plants back then, but I was still too busy. I decided I need to work for myself. I need to start building what I love. I had time to spend with my home office. I had time to decorate it, and I started with plants. I get more and more plants because I found taking care of them is both hard and also rewarding. I had time to take my daughter, 2-year-old back then, to hike around, and she would point into all the plants to say, what is that, what is that? So I would Google or go to Facebook groups and post pictures. And then suddenly, after a few times of this kind of iteration, I decided it's time to build something. I started to build a software for plant identification. So you just take a picture of the plant, and I will use some AI to figure out what type of plant is it. Is it a monstera or is it a philodendron? And then I built a database to say how to take care of it. I have 2 apps. One is the initial plant identification app. Then the latter one, the Plant Story, which is e-commerce plus community app. So in total, 1.5 million people downloaded them. We source the best plant sellers, and then we get them onto our app and make sure they sell their plants, list all their plants. Plant is about connection. It started with people's connection with plants, and then it expands to connection with each other. It's about care, it's about emotion, it's a community. So then I expanded this idea. That was the birth of Plant Story. It was a plant ID tool, a water reminder tool, plus a community around it. So people would buy a plant, and then they take a beautiful picture of it, and then they create a story and share to the community. So other people, they would love it, and then if they had questions, they would ask how to take care of the plant, and other people can help. During pandemic, there was one super long lockdown happened to me. It was a 100-day lockdown. In my home, I have my family and my plants, so I sustain pretty well. I'd say I have human interactions, I have nature interactions. But on the other side, I had a mini office in Shanghai, so there's a monstera there. So it was in there for 100 days. I thought it would be dead. So the bottom 2 leaves, they turned black for sure. But the top leaves, they survived pretty well. That amazed me. I was like, So I decided I should never cut those broken leaves because they are a proof of survival, of how life makes its way. Yeah. When working in Silicon Valley companies, I constantly feel the pressure of doing things faster and faster, more and more efficient. But when I work with plants, you feel you are slowed down naturally. You know, human nature are not born to be accelerating 10x every day. There's something in the long process. And if you look at some plants, like they spend years to grow, but when they grow super big, they are very, very sturdy. E-commerce for plants, but the emotional commerce, not the electronic commerce. Because the plant is about emotion between people, human and plants. It's about emotion between human and human. Then being electronic is the last part.